I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Welcome to the first meeting of the Community Engagement and Outreach Subcommittee, which is sort of the rebirth of the community education, whatever we're calling it before, but with entirely new people. So new committee, subcommittee. And we have a public participant. Kathy has joined us through introduction from Lily. So Kathy is part of our usual meeting. We open the first little bit of the meeting to, anyone from the public to come and participate.
Great.
And since Lily had introduced us, we'd love to meet you and understand a little bit more about what you do with bees and what, how you might bring some education to our community.
I've been a beekeeper since 2009, varying degrees of success depending on the years and what the bees are going to do and if they make it through the winter or not. I've had anywhere from 1 to 5 hives, and I do it with my neighbor. Sometimes I'm more of the bee person than she is, but she has the better sun yard, so it's our project. I've been involved for most of that time with the Essex County Beekeepers Association, and I've been their treasurer and their president. And one of the missions of the association is education and outreach and providing people information about bees. So in that role, I've gone on site and brought hives and, both to schools, mostly to schools and school kids, but various ages, and explained to them it at a level they can understand how bees pollinate and all the different jobs the bees have and the value of bees generally to the our ecosystem and to the environment. And we also, as part of you may have been at the Topsfield Fair, but as part of the fair, are building
my favorite place at the Topsfield Fair, hands down my favorite place.
And one of the best deals you can get, you can roll a candle for $1 and get a bundle of honey sticks for $1. One of the best deals at the fair.
It is.
But our goal there is also education. So I'll staff the observation hives and talk to people about bees. And even when they come to the sales counter and want to know about the different honeys and things like that, we discuss that with them. So that's my background in all of this. So I have a couple different presentations, both that I have and others available to me. So I guess it would depend on what you're looking for and what kind of things you might want and so on and so forth. So that's a little bit about me, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions you guys have.
So, and you live in Wakefield?
I do.
Awesome.
So awesome.
Yeah.
What side of town do you live on?
I'm on Reynolds Road, which is off of Old Nahant. I'm right next to
yes,
we parallel Oak Street up at this.
Yeah. Oh yes, kind of up in the yeah. Near Laurel. Yeah.
We're on the same street.
Yeah.
I've often, since moving to town, thinking it was weird that our library named after bee, but the whole bee motif doesn't. While they sell honey, they don't do a lot to attract bees around the library. I've always thought that was a missed opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Having a pollinator garden or whatever, something like that. Yeah.
That's such a good point, Robin.
They have a lot of green stuff, but they're not very pollinator friendly.
We can challenge them on that. I think this is great. I mean, have you done, I don't know has the BB done any beekeeping type?
I know they've had at least one presentation, if not 2 in the past. Nancy Mangian, who used to be a teacher in Stoneham, runs the beekeeper warehouse in Woburn. So she helps supply a lot of the beekeepers in the area, and she's done a presentation at some point in time over the years to them. I know. I just don't remember when. It was pre-COVID, for sure.
The other place that might be kind of interesting for not so much like a presentation, but just to show stuff is at the recycling day in April.
Yeah.
I don't know. You think that would be like we there's lots of people have tables and we could kind of say, oh, the ESC is highlighting bees there. I don't know whether it's the right place or maybe any of the like Festival by the Lake or Farmers Market or something.
Right. We did something like that for the Topsfield. They have I forget what they call it, but some kind of spring event where they also have people with a lot of tables and things like that. And we've sat at we've had a table at one of those things just for awareness and information.
Festival of the Lake seems like a better place than the recycle day, because
Yeah, I
mean,
think you're probably right. There's more time to linger.
Yeah.
well, and people wouldn't expect it, but
I don't remember, when is that June or July?
June, I think.
Okay.
um, have they announced the date? So it's June 8th, 2024.
Great, thank you.
I also wonder, so Kathy, I'm a town councilor here in
Yep.
town, and
Mhm.
I'm a liaison to the youth council.
Oh, okay.
These youth council, I shouldn't call them kids, like they're mostly high schoolers. There's a couple that are middle schoolers. They are just so tuned into this stuff.
Mhm.
And many of them are bird watchers, believe it or not. Like,
Oh, wow.
bird watching is a kind of a big thing. So I wonder, maybe I can connect you with their chair, and they might be interested just in having you speak at one of their meetings even.
Oh, sure, I'd be happy to.
So I will I have your email because I think I was on the email chain.
Okay.
So and the chair of the youth council is also he's on like the governor's climate action team. So he's
Okay.
got a lot of interest in this. So that might be another way.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, it feels like this would be a fun and interesting, at the library kind of talk like we did for the recycling and the food presentation that Sean did last year, as a, sort of rounding out. I feel like we overemphasize some of the recycling side of our content, and there's been so much interest in pollinators lately, so being able to learn a little bit more. We all say like, oh, don't mow in May, and that's,
Right.
an easy, well promoted
Mhm.
thing, but why and what else should we be doing? Like, I think folks would love to learn not just about sort of bees and beekeeping in Wakefield, but also just sort of what they can do to be supportive and to,
I love
encourage
that.
their
Yeah.
neighbors to be supportive of bees specifically and pollinators generally.
Yeah, I mean, it's we can opt out of getting the mosquito spraying. And I know
Mhm.
there's different schools of thought around that. But that type of thing has really been affecting the bees. And even though they say it's not, and it's at night and that sort of thing, it's on the lawns, it's in the flowers. And that's true with so many pesticides nowadays. The not just the bees, but many of the pollinators are fighting against the pesticides because, that impacts their system, naturally when things like that are affected. So those kind of things can be, it's always a delicate balance, people wanting
Mhm.
their lawns and gardens to look just so, and yeah, but to try to promote something that's more green for them, which just ripples effect to help the environment in general. So
Hmm. Yeah, I like the idea of doing kind of a more fulsome thing at the library. Maybe like in April and in time for No Mow May when kind of people are thinking about it,
Mhm.
or in May.
and that's a good time if people are thinking of setting up their gardens, kind of
Mhm.
potential flowers and things like that.
And
Yeah.
is that something that you would be able to speak to
I
also, like
I could get
particular
I could
plants and
talk about a list of different plants and
yeah,
that
then
sort of
that
thing. So,
timing would be great.
yeah.
Sure. I think that would be wonderful.
Okay, great. And I could put something together and run it by you guys ahead of time if you wanted me to. That way
Sure.
we can add or subtract or whatever the case may
And
be.
we could have, I mean, if it's okay with you, we could try to get WCAT to record it. And so it would play, it could
Uh-huh.
be on recording and we could put it on the website and people could kind of watch it as they wanted as well.
Okay. And if sometimes during that time of the year, we don't always have them available, but if whoops, if I could get an observation hive, is that something you think you'd be interested in? Okay, great.
Can we bring that indoors to the library?
Yeah, it's a self-contained thing with a
Oh,
window, which is what we have at the
Have
fair.
you never been to the Topsfield Fair tent or, trailer?
I know. We have to find the queen.
It's
But
amazing. It's like between two plexiglass and you can see the whole hive and try to
cool.
find the queen. It's
so,
really,
yeah,
That'd be
so I can check with, I don't have one personally, but I know some folks that have them, so I can check with them and see about either
very
them letting me borrow it or them accompanying me, whichever the case may be.
cool. I
What-
mean, we tend to be fairly flexible on dates, so
Mhm.
if there's, if chicken and egg, if you find a date where it could be available
Okay,
in,
I'll check
late
with
March or
them.
April,
Mhm.
That could help us pick a day. If you say like, well, I could have the observation hive if it's this date, but not if it's that date.
Got it. Okay,
The library is fairly often available. WCAT is, depending on the day of the week, fairly often
Sure.
available. So
Yeah. Okay.
cool.
When do you get your bee delivery, Kathy?
When what the years that I get new hives, it's usually in the late April, May timeframe. Yep, and then you get your bees, and it looks like a little screen house, and it's 3 pounds of bees with a queen, and you just take it and dump it basically into the hive. You set up the queen so they'll accept her. She's in a little cage with candy at one end. So you put her in the hive, and then you really just dump these bees into the hive. And over time, they'll smell her pheromones and begin to eat at the candy one way, and she begins to eat at the candy the other way. And ideally, by the time she comes out, they've accepted her as their queen, and she begins to lay eggs in the hive because she's already a fertilized queen. So,
Because life's that easy to like match people up, right?
right.
Do yours come from Valdosta, Georgia?
They do come from Georgia, yeah. But
So
go ahead.
as I say, many years ago, I was in Valdosta, and they were the Queen Bee City, and they like to claim that they
Wow.
supplied like, I don't know, 90% of all the country's
Right.
bees. And I was like, that is a really odd distinction, but somebody's got it, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
The
I
whole
love
town
this
was about.
discussion around kind of mosquito, like other things too. Like, I think that's a really important conversation to have.
Yeah,
Even if you just cut it down by maybe one spray, like one, I don't even know how
Mhm.
often we do it, but I do get a lot of feedback from people who do not like spraying.
Right.
Well, the mosquito spraying is also anti, bats and, and their ability to have food sources and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I can understand people are concerned about West Nile, but
Yeah.
given the numbers and the impact of everything else, it becomes a back and forth kind of discussion. Yeah.
All right. I love it because we're always struggling for Earth Day programming too. So
Oh,
perfect. Fits in perfectly. Whether
okay.
March or April, doesn't really matter.
Great.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for popping in to join us. This was also very helpful that you're able to just join an
Absolutely.
existing meeting and be able
Yeah.
to chat through this.
Yeah.
Let's, we're all on the email thread together. So I'd say, if you want to look at some dates that you might be available and that the observation hive might be
Okay.
available, we can look at dates when WCAT and the library are available and
Okay.
can get something on the calendar. This is so cool.
That's great. I love talking
I knew
bees,
we had
so
this
I'm very
resource right
happy.
here in town.
Yep. There's a couple
You might
beekeepers in
never get
town.
rid of us.
Okay. Okay, thanks for the warning.
Or me, I should say by myself. I did bee training when I was in Peace Corps. I went through like 2 weeks of bee training,
fun.
and then they
Wow.
sent me to a place that literally had no
No
bees.
bees.
And so I always say someday I'm gonna like try it. So
When you have time.
I will, yeah, when I have time.
Right.
Oh, and one other thing, Kathy, just for you to know, so we have a pretty healthy online presence. If you come across any articles, infographics,
Uh-huh.
postings from other, if the association that you're part of, post something particularly interesting that you see that you think the sustainability community in Wakefield generally would be interested in,
Okay.
feel free to, send a link my way or, send me an article or whatever.
Amazing.
Because we're always looking for more content to share from our page. And again, I would love to share more that's about pollinators, pollinator-friendly
Right.
plants,
Mhm.
those sorts of topics. So if you see them, feel free to share them
I
around.
will.
Beautiful.
And I can get their information. There's also a pollinator council
Mm.
that we interact with, and sometimes they have speakers and things like that too.
Oh,
So,
cool. Oh yeah, we're happy to post like if there are
Okay.
events in the
Yep.
area.
okay, great.
Or
Beautiful.
just on virtual ones as well.
Right.
Yeah, though, exactly. That's how many of them are now.
Mhm.
So, well, very good. Well, I'll get, probably within the next week, I'll get some dates together and a bulleting of the potential format, and then we'll go from there.
Wonderful. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Well, I'm glad you guys had the time to talk bees. So,
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us.
and have a good meeting the rest of
Thank
your
you.
time. Yeah. Bye now.
Bye. All right. How
So
cool.
cool.
Love it.
Love
Good job,
it.
Lily.
No. And now I have Festival by the Lake on my calendar too.
Perfect. We'll skip the part of the agenda of approving the minutes from the last community
Well,
education.
how did you
Well-
want to? We had the conversation of what we can do, but I never heard what needs to
Oh,
be done.
yeah, I asked Sherry and she said that either if you guys are comfortable having not been at the meeting because, well, the recordings are available. And did I send out the notes to this group?
No, that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say.
So like we could, or if Lily had been able to come, we could, or she said we could vote on them at the full committee meeting next, whenever that is. And just Lily and I, or whoever was present at that meeting, gets to vote on that. So since Lily isn't here, I think we'll go that route.
Okay.
And we'll just add that to the agenda for the full ESC meeting. Oh, by the way, I didn't ask if anyone was taking notes. I'm happy to take notes unless
Good.
someone else was already doing that.
I
That's
just
right. I'm
jotted a
already
few notes
behind
down.
on the notes from last week's meeting. Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah,
Keep on
I'm
doing
on.
it. Yeah, you'll find mine.
What was last week's meeting?
The Climate Action Plan group.
Ah, nice.
So the next item on our agenda was just to go over the goals and potential initiatives for 2024. I can pull up the Post-it notes summary from the retreat if that would be useful. If I can. Hold on. Too many windows open. Now even more windows open. That didn't actually help. Can you see my
Yes.
this thing? All right, so generally, community engagement and education. We talked about sustainability meetups, supporting the passage of the MBTA zoning law, advertise or inform on ESC sponsored events via as many channels as possible, remain the source of info for sustainability practices and news via social media, etc. Publish an environment report / scorecard, host a whole big slew of events. We had a bunch of ideas about that. One of them being bees. We're already making progress. And I guess this could have been on the events list, but tour the Black Earth facility and maybe host some sort of periodic litter cleanup. Any reflections, further thoughts, anything you want to talk more about or add to this?
I just want to, for the environmental report and scorecard. So the town puts out a town annual report every year. And I believe, excuse me, I believe that committees can put reports in that.
Ah.
So I'm kind of wondering whether we kill two birds with one stone. And I need to find out what the timing of it is.
I thought it came out already because the request for photos
Yeah.
was done already. And then I thought they released who won it. So
Hold on. Wakefield town.
there's 2022 online.
So I think 2023. when does it come out? Report of the town administrator. Hold on. No, that's not it. I mean, I like that because that actually becomes kind of the archive for the town forever. Like if you go into town hall, you know, they have them
Right.
back hundreds of years.
So interesting. The previous ones were posted online in May. So it would be weird for them to have a huge gap between posting and having it done. So maybe it's not done until, maybe we do have time to get into it.
I'll drop a note right now and try to find that out. Because I think it would be worth it even just to write a paragraph or two up about what we're doing.
Yeah.
And then we can kind of build upon that. But that is, rather than kind of putting it on the website that might or might not live for like 5 years, like this would live kind of forever in the.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So
great.
let me see whether that's possible, and if so, what the timing is. So I'll send
So
it.
what's interesting is that no committee has a report. It's all departments.
But I think they're supposed to.
I thought
Under
so
the charter.
too.
I think under the Wakefield charter, they're supposed to.
I feel like it's been mentioned in past years, and the chair wrote something for us, but maybe it didn't. Maybe it's under someone else's umbrella.
Well, and I know Melissa gathered stuff for like presenting to town council some couple months ago. Those sort of like summary of the year. But I think that was just for that in person or that town council meeting.
See what's under. I think the town
But-
clerk is in charge of it.
So who sits on what committee? So we exist through appointments, but that's it. That's odd. I just
Yeah,
would have thought, yeah.
Yeah, let's see. It just struck me that if we're gonna do that work, that's the best place for it to live.
Yeah. Or at least a place to start. And if we end up having so much great content that we outgrow that format.
Yeah, like I could see
move
kind of an
something else.
impact report that maybe there's a summary that goes into
Mhm.
the town report. But yeah,
Sure. Sounds great. Okay,
Yeah.
so you'll follow up on that.
I will follow up on that. Make that a deliverable for me.
Why are you so antsy?
Other thoughts on these particular sort of goals and initiatives? One thing that I was thinking today, or just like as I was doing some of the recent Facebook posts, is I want to lean toward actual engagement, like meaningful engagement, whether that's getting people out at events or like truly educating people in a way that changes their minds. I feel like in some ways, as much as the Facebook stuff has gets someone to read something, I think most of the people who read our Facebook posts are the 15 or so people who already mostly know all the things that we're posting about. So to the extent that we can, I'd love to spend more of our effort on things that will actually move the needle on people's behavior or choices, or getting them to make policy change, influence policy changes and that sort of thing. So I'm happy to keep posting stuff on Facebook, but I don't want that to be the bulk of the way we are educating and engaging the community.
So I'll tell you about an idea that came up this morning. It's still evolving. So I have been spending a lot of time on the climate action plan, which we will talk more about at the meeting on next Thursday, I guess. But one thing that's kind of been related to it is there's these big tours of the schools going on for town council and school committee. And it kind of made a couple of us think. I was with Sharon Daly, who's on ESC, and Tom Betcher and a few other people, and Melissa actually at the solar meeting last week. And we were talking about, like, wouldn't it be great to kind of be on tours like that with the energy and the energy reduction plan?
Mm.
Hold on, what? So So the school has agreed to kind of do a tour for ESC, DPW, MLD. We'd like to invite capital planning.
Yes.
Just because this stuff has to be socialized, right? Um,
So is it a tour of the high school or?
well, so the first thing we were trying to do was frankly piggyback onto the tours that were already happening, which doesn't
Yeah.
sound like it's going to be kind of the appropriate place or size group to do that. And so and then we kind of decided we didn't need to see every school, right? There's schools that are going to need a lot more capital that are a bigger part of that ERP, energy reduction plan, than other schools.
Mhm.
So then we started thinking, well, maybe we can plan a school. And then this morning we were talking about the climate action plan. And then I started thinking, maybe we need an ERP. Like maybe we need to go see the work that's been done at the town hall and the public safety building in the AmeriCal with our first year of funding. So see successes, but then also kind of we need to socialize this ERP. It is not socialized yet in town staff. You know, I'm afraid that
I mean, an ERP is what?
the
Environmental.
energy reduction plan.
Okay.
The 20% in the next 5 years.
Yeah. From the
I'm really afraid that like it's just not front. I mean, you saw this from the capital planning. Capital planning actually, and I don't know how we missed it, but they passed a new chiller for the Woodville last year that hasn't been bought yet, but it's not in line with our plan. And so we're trying to figure that out.
gas fired? Oil?
I don't think I think it's electricity, but I think we were hoping to do heat pumps, like do both at
Oh.
once and do heat pumps. So
Mm.
I just know that like it just needs to be socialized better. And rather than just making people come to a meeting and saying, here's the plan.
Right.
Maybe and maybe the public can be part of it. So I don't know whether it really touches on this committee or not, but I mean, we did actually get the ERP put on the website today. So that somebody's saying, what is the town doing for energy? It's now on our website.
Oh, awesome.
Because people couldn't even find the plan when we started asking.
Right.
And it's nobody's fault. It's just there's a lot going on. And so we've been trying to think about a way to kind of be like, hey, is that in line with our energy reduction plan? For that just to be on top of people's minds when they're making these decisions. When we're making ARPA decisions with, we have $2 million left to spend, when we're making capital planning decisions.
Where is it on the town website?
I understand. Is it
Does
ESC? It was sent over to ESC today. To Jen to put up on the ESC webpage. Is it not there? I actually haven't looked.
If it is, it's under something else. So
Maybe it's under green communities.
That just takes you to the green
That just
community.
links out. It should be there. I saw the email go around today.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe it's not there yet, but it's
Well, I like the idea of if there's a tour, definitely open to the public, right? Even if no one shows up, it's another way. It has to be advertised, right? So that's great. But yeah, no, if there's anything to see, lights. The AmeriCal has had what? LED lights and weather. I mean, I guess I don't even know what's done today other than lighting.
I think it's mostly LED lights at the Civic Center, the public safety building, and the town hall.
The public safety building is kind of complicated because they just did a huge renovation. So,
but I think it was on the fire side that didn't get touched during the renovation.
Oh, well, to that point, they had to have done something on an energy level in the police side. So, is there any facility descriptions they can offer to say?
Right. I think this is going to take a little, I think it's going to take a little organizing. But the plus is that I mean, I don't think you could ask 20 people in town who would know that we have an energy reduction plan.
Correct.
Right? Even people who kind of are in the know don't really know. And because we haven't made, we actually very quietly became a green community with not much fanfare. And maybe now that we're a year in, this is what I always, tell my clients, like celebrate when you've got something to show for it. So maybe we make a big deal out of just closing out our first year and we're going to celebrate by going to see what we did. And we can talk about what the next 4 years will look like.
Yeah, because we got what the first check was 100 and something from the state for it. So, what does 100 and whatever get you?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I know this is a crutch we use a lot, but could we invite WCAT to come along on such a tour and we record like even just a couple minutes of like, hey, look at that thing. Hey, look at that thing. And
Oh,
a
absolutely.
soundbite of Julie saying, well, the first check was for 100 blah, blah, blah dollars and it got us this and we're very excited for the next 4 years. Like,
Yeah. That's
doing
exactly
something
kind of
like
what
that,
I
like
want.
it's really easy. We found when we did the one in the schools for the food rescue last April. I mean, it was like an hour for them to, show up, take a couple minutes of video, stitch something together. They were, I mean, I guess I can't speak for them, but they sure seemed delighted to do it. And
Yeah.
then we were able to then use that video a bunch of other times in talking to the next principal, doing the next, like making that as a little artifact. So if we were going to invite the public, it would be nice to also invite them along and like
I think
capture
that is a great
2-minute
idea,
PSA.
because part of what we're going to talk about on Thursday is the climate. So just a little preview. I don't want to go down too many rabbit holes, but the Green Communities 2.0 is going to be called Climate Leaders. And there's 6 criteria. We could probably very easily meet the criteria, not easily, but the hardest criteria is the opt-in, and where we've got only 31 towns or cities have it. So quite honestly, that's probably the hardest of the 6. There's other things like a decarbonization plan, and your town council or governing body has to say they want to be net zero by 2050. You have to have community, and so this is where I was thinking, you have to have community, you have to show that you're doing outreach to the community, that this is not just a municipal couple of staffers that like, that one of the requirements is that you have a committee that will advise your town. So ESC will be that designated committee. And then another criteria is that you do things in the community to kind of show things. So I think this would help meet that criteria if we're going to be able to get into this next program too.
Gotcha.
And they're coming out with technical assistant grants to write the decarbonization plan. And I'm super hopeful that and it's 100% grant, that we'll be able to qualify the grant to get them to help us write our decarbonization plan. Oh, the other thing you have to have is a zero emissions vehicle policy.
Which has been talked about already, hasn't it?
We
No,
have
is
a
that-
low emissions, I think.
Oh,
This is just one step up, and it's not unreasonable. It's, if there is a zero emissions vehicle available and comparable, buy that. If not, go plug-in hybrid. If not, go hybrid. And then 4th would be fossil. But I'm sure there's a lot of things that are exempt from it, like there are in the policy.
well, like fire engines and stuff, just
Exactly. I mean, nobody's gonna put public safety at risk for zero emissions, but, anyway, I think it's super exciting, and I think there'll be some overlap with this committee.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool. Sounds great.
Then I do think, Tiana, then we can reinforce that with the social media stuff, right? Like, come on the tour.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's WCAT.
Yep.
Yes.
Speaking of promotion, it occurred to me, I don't know why, because it's not like I watch the channel, but last year at some point we did those slides for them to use as filler between shows. We never did it again as a way to like give them fresh info. So it may be a good time to maybe the stuff we learned from on bees, we can put together a slideshow on that, but just thinking of a non-social media outlet that people accidentally see because they're waiting for something else, a little captive audience. So I don't even know what topics we did last time, and we can keep them because it's not, I don't think that any of them expired. But maybe build on some of those things.
Yeah, I mean, and what that makes me think of, or maybe we have these resources already, but someone with even the slightest bit of graphical sense to put some of those things to get, like to make a slide that looks halfway decent, or that where we could sort of spread it around, not just to WCAP, but to the item, or put a poster somewhere, or things like that. Having someone who can do that would be helpful.
Well,
It's not
for
my strength.
posters and stuff, I mean, if we give the content, isn't that what Jen McDonald's, you know, does to
Oh,
the communication?
Yeah, she can help us
generally
with
I
that.
make the post, like
You can
I
do
or
like
someone
events.
make
If it's an event poster, she might be able to.
Okay.
mhm.
It is
Who did
maybe
our opt-in one? That was amazing.
That was Christina. Yeah, Christina's good at that stuff. So she's not on this committee, but maybe every once in a while, if we have
We could tap her.
some something, we can tap her for that. Yeah, she did a real nice job on that.
I'm only as good as Canva, and you need a little talent still.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, can't help but wonder if students are not, this is an
That
opportunity
was-
for them to help us.
Yeah, I
Mm.
would love to get a student on this committee for a number of reasons. So when
Let's talk to Nathaniel about that.
well, don't we have 3 new students that are
Oh,
also
we have 3 new
joining?
students,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Like
we have-
this week should be their first meeting, or next
Good.
week, whenever that
Okay.
meeting is.
And
Perfect.
even if they don't feel like they have the talent, if they have a friend they can volunteer, you know, like, I mean, it doesn't need to be limited to the folks who
Absolutely.
have volunteered in the
Yeah.
committee, but
Yeah.
I mean, Nathaniel's recycling group, you know, I'm sure they made posters to promote within the high school, so, you know, they're just looking for more outlets to creatively come up with stuff.
And nice
anything
job,
else on-
Tiana, getting on the Black Earth Compost website too, or
Oh yeah.
Facebook.
So they
Yeah.
did what?
I shared to their,
Oh,
I
yes.
tagged them. I guess they then posted it back
Mhm.
or shared it back, which is nice.
It's nice.
Well, it helps them too. I mean, you know.
We don't have a budget yet so our budget goes through the end of July. So we have our budget for this year. We are putting in for next year as well for a little more than this year, not a whole lot, but there should be enough for some events if we want to do some events.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking of was around, similar to the EV showcase, could we do like, I know we talked about the notion of like a show off your green, who's the greenest street? Can we show off some of the home things? And that I've haven't gotten that any traction because no one's been able to identify a green street. But I thought, like, could we do a casual, I'm almost thinking like at Brothers over coffee, the same way that like the chamber does that breakfast, but like a casual, do you want to hear about my solar panels? Come have a muffin and we'll talk about our solar panels, for folks who want that kind of info. Like, doesn't have to be a formal library kind of setting, but like make that kind of sharing available. Like, bring 3 people who have solar and one usefully knowledgeable person from the Muni to talk about it and like help people understand.
I love that idea. I just saw on Facebook some town doing that with their, like, they call him the energy coach. And he was like, gonna have coffee and like, come and ask me any energy questions.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great idea.
Wasn't Tom considered a coach? At one
Tom's the
point?
solar coach for the town.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was say I thought
That was a sustainable Wakefield holdover, but he still has an email and everything. I still send people to him. Yeah, I think that's, I mean, it could be on any subjects. Like the bee, Kathy could come and do a bee coffee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I just think like things where it is a more of like a personal consumer choice feels like I just want to hear from a neighbor what they went through and what decisions they made and how it's working, versus something like, I think with the bee thing, some of that might be enough generally applicable.
Yeah.
That it's like worth doing as a library thing where 30 people come and we record it. Whereas like,
Oh yeah, I'm not saying instead of that. No.
Yeah, but maybe additionally.
But
yeah.
Honestly, all this news about like EVs and cold, like, man, there's a backlash on that, right? Like that would be an interesting, timely one, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, how are your EVs? If you have an EV, come talk to us about what your winter's looking like. Because I don't know. I don't know how much of it to believe and how much not. Mine's working fine.
Mine's fine. We're not having a problem. use your heated seat instead of the blowing hot air, and hardly a problem at all.
Yeah. And I think when we do the climate action plan, if we do this climate leaders, probably the decarbonization plan will be kind of the municipal side of the climate action plan. But what the ESC is going to take on more so than the town's staff is going to be like residential and businesses. And I think those are going to be less mandates and more like, I was saying this morning, like, I see it as like, oh, you're having a baby. Here are ways to do sustainable, I don't know, like different like phases of life or events or like it's really much more kind of good practices in a toolkit rather than mandates.
Yep.
When I got married, I did a lead checklist for my event.
You did a what?
A lead checklist style thing for my wedding.
Oh, like how many points they got or something?
Well, it wasn't exactly a lead one, but in the spirit of lead of like my venue and other choices I made. It wasn't as high as I thought, but it was a moment of reflection.
Well, so can I share with you? I went to the run show this weekend, and there was this woman who wrote this book on the sustainable runner.
Okay.
And it's part of it is how to organize road races to be more sustainable.
So no cups all over the floor.
So they have these little reusable cups that have a hook on them, and you just take them to each water stop. They're like little silicone. They're kind of like your one, Tiana, that like flattens, but they're also doing things. And I'm on the Melrose Run for Women committee. And so we're not people can opt out of shirts this year for the first time. So many races won't let you register unless you put a size in for a shirt.
Like how many shirts do you need?
How many shirts do you need? Or opt out of medals. How many medals do you need on like the bigger races? Anyway, just little things like that are just like good practices.
That's awesome.
Learning how to say no when swags and you really want something, it feels so good.
That's awesome. We got deep into the events through the goals and initiatives piece. We also want to talk about next events. So it sounds like we might do bees in the spring. Are there other? I guess I could share the agenda and not just look at it myself.
I know that litter pickup was on kind of the goals thing.
Yeah.
Do we feel that we need to take it on, or do we just need to support the Wakefield's Warrior crew?
I'd be
Are they doing it?
Them.
She's a Woodville mom, I think, Tiana. Have you run it into her?
Oh, I don't know. What's the name?
I can't remember. Hold on, let me see.
Oh, okay.
I love, we need so many litter pickups, but I mean, I know the lake folks organize, and then this other crew, are we tapping the folks that would engage with that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be just as happy not to organize a fresh litter pickup, but it would be nice if there were just more, if they happened more frequently.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we could help them feel compelled to do them more often.
I mean, maybe on Facebook, just say, if anybody hears of litter pickups, we'd love to help promote them.
Yeah.
Because I think FOLQ is always looking for people.
Right. Maybe it's about making sure that the folks who tend to do them know to send them our way to promote.
Right. And we'd love to help promote them and try to find volunteers for them.
Yeah. Yep. That sounds good.
And who actually is the who has access to our Tufts mailing list? I mean, it's not really Tufts, but it's through the Tufts server that.
Yeah. I do, and I think Melissa does.
Okay.
Yeah. And Sean still, even though he's not on the committee, but he's sort of administratively.
Well, and they're seeking of volunteers. That is a way to get a different group, right? Because we probably have less overlap. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many people are on that list. I'm sure I could figure that out. But I certainly feel like that's a place where we can send things, a few times a month that are interesting, or particularly like volunteer opportunities, or
Right.
stuff like that. Um, we also have the STEAM night coming up. Um, so that's through the schools. So it's put on by the science coordinators. And it's at the Galvin, but it's for the K-4 set. And it's supposed to promote all the various STEM plus art. So science, technology,
Steve.
engineering, art, and math. Activities. So like different organizations show up. Last year there was like a petting, an animal show. There, iRobot came and let you take apart a Roomba, which was really, really cool. The library was there, the scouts were there, a bunch of like clubs and organizations that actually are part of the schools were there, but like various other sort of external groups that have some sort of STEM focus or STEAM focus. And so we were there last year, and we did our usual, like, does this go in the trash, recycle, or composting game, which was like meh. And like we had like a coloring sheet about, how could you reduce your footprint. We've been trying to think of something to do for this year. It's hard because it's frankly a chaotic space, right? There are like, hundreds of kids milling about, and each one spends exactly a minute at the table, so you can't do a whole lot. One thing that was
something.
Yeah, I will, and I thought, like, could we do something that's like a craft, a craft that is in some way reusing something? But I haven't come up with a good idea on that yet.
What about like the milk crate igloo? I mean, the gallon milk. Have you ever seen the igloos they build out of those? I don't know what you do with it when you're done. So like the gallon plastic jugs, look it up.
Mhm.
Like these teachers, they stick them all together and it builds this huge like igloo that the kids can go in and out of.
Well, that's cool. I don't know if we'd be able to do that inside the
Probably
cafeteria of
too
the
big
Galvin.
and too, I don't know what you would do with it afterwards. Think about
Yeah,
cleaning up
well,
those milk.
recycle it, I would hope. But
I know Sustainable Wakefield, when we first started, we did, and it was probably a little too old for that age group. I think they've lowered the age group for the STEAM. We kind of had a board where we made the kids guess where their electricity came from, and they always think it comes from solar and wind. So that was kind of cool. It was like match, like, what do you think's number one, number two, number three? And we just had Velcro
that
things
could
on
be
it.
interesting. Yeah, I do think some sort of guessing game quiz type of thing might be fun. Like a, flip open the flap to reveal, you know.
This was
I was
super easy. We just used like those white canvas boards and threw Velcro on both sides and had all these different laminated things to put up. That might be kind of cool.
Do you still have it?
I think so.
Oh, well, let's do that. The other thing I was thinking was, could this be an opportunity to engage people about school bus ridership?
Mm.
In what way?
I mean, I can't. And the bee in my bonnet is just like, why the heck do so many parents drive their kids to the schools, to the elementary schools?
Because they don't want to pay the fee,
The
which
fee
I think
is
is crazy.
so small. I mean, yeah, so like, can there be a way to like engage on, how do you get to school? Maybe you walk to school, maybe you ride your bike, your parents drive you, or you take the bus. Like, how do you get to school? And how, why would you ride the bus? Or like, what do you think is the most sustainable way to get to school? And like start to plant the notion in kids' heads that like, oh, well, actually the better thing to do would be to take the bus. Mom, can I please take the bus? I don't know.
I love it, but yeah.
Well, the most sustainable is to walk, but
yeah, oh yeah, of course. I would love for everyone to walk. I just think we should have fewer cars going to the schools.
What's the least option? Your parents' car. Or what's the least green is your parents' car?
Right. Well, and can we, like maybe it's like a order these things, rank these in how sustainable they are. And like, yeah, if you're going by car, but there are 2 or 3 kids in the car, that's better than if there's 1 kid in the car. Or if
Right.
you have an electric car, like, could we like do something that engages that thought process and raises some awareness? Because a decent number of the kids are there with their parents as well. So, do they get engaged in that conversation?
I think it's interesting. Just starts the dialogue.
Yeah. Because I also do wonder, like, how much is that fee? Is that fee really what stops people from taking the bus? And if so, is there a way for us to find like some sort of grant or something to ease that part of the burden?
How long has Wakefield had the fee? As long as you know, Julie?
As long as I've known. But I personally don't think it's a fee issue. I don't
Is it
know.
just the
Maybe,
convenience that then they can go
I think
off
it's
and do,
convenience. I think it's safety. I think
which
parents,
is backwards of convenience because I
right.
hear stories of people showing up an hour before school gets out just for the parking spot. Like, how is that more convenient in your life to be sitting there for an hour?
I know with all the idling and stuff.
Well, not even just that, like, don't you have other things you'd rather do with your life? I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to say as a non-parent, but um, I just hear the stories and I just
I mean,
don't see it.
I tend to agree. Like, I think if it really is the fee and we decide that buses are a value, but we just haven't built up, if we could build up that, especially with like all the construction that's going to be going on. Like,
Mhm.
honestly, they should waive the fees for the couple of years that construction's going on down there.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, and I know not all of the schools even have buses
yeah,
as an
the
option.
local schools don't, like the Greenwood doesn't,
Greenwood and Walton don't because there aren't.
but they're all walkable or bikeable. Then it just gets to parents, dropping off on their way to work and, things like that. Yeah, what day is this? March what?
Yes, I have no idea.
Oh, sometime in March. Yeah,
Oh,
let's think about it. I do think that the kids like the sticking things on, right? Like, and maybe it's not 1, 2, 3. Maybe it's like a spectrum, like the earth on one
So
side.
it's
And
May 11th,
oh, it's not till May?
according to WPS steam.webby.com, Wakefield Public Schools. Yeah, Wakefield, Mass. Yep. So May 11th.
Late.
That's interesting because it was March 14th in the email we got from Joanne, who's coordinating it.
Could it? Well, what's weird is so it says 2023 and then below is all stuff from 2019 and the 2020 sponsors. But it says March, no, sorry, Thursday, May 11, 2023.
Yeah, but that's last year.
Oh, right. Sorry. But that's May. It was last year. So let's.
Yeah, I mean the registration
So they
thing
moved
she
it up
sent
this
us
year.
is March 14th. Yeah.
All right. Call to order. This is. Oh no, this is us. Our agenda just popped up when I wrote Steam Night.
Oh. Yeah.
That's a good search engine right there.
There you go.
Um,
I hadn't registered us yet because I told Joanne that we will be there, but didn't register because it like asks for the topic and we hadn't yet sort of aligned on a topic. So yeah, so I think that was
What
one of
are
the
other decisions kids, I mean, I think it's hard kids probably aren't making their transportation decisions
no.
at that age. So like what?
I mean, we could ask, or at least like have some awareness raising about, so now that all of the elementary schools are doing food rescue and 3 of the 4 are doing compost, maybe by March, all 4 will be doing compost.
that's actually where I was going. Is they do have a say in how their lunch is put together.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was just gonna say, like, now that you're doing compost at school, does your family do composting at home? Here's the
Oh,
place to sign up for Green Earth or Black Earth compost. Um, I from spending quite a bit of time in the schools lately, good half plus of students are getting school lunch now that it's free.
It's all free, right? No?
Yeah, it's free for all the kids, so a lot of them are just getting school lunch, which is it's actually a really good question. I don't know how I would sense like which what's a lower footprint. I would imagine the school lunch is lower because there's less
Packaging.
packaging and they're like doing more stuff from bulk. There's also a decent amount of food waste because then you're having less choice in what you're getting, and yeah, they put steamed broccoli on your plate that you're not going to eat. At least now we're composting that waste.
that's right.
But we could maybe do some sort of thing about, about the food rescue and compost for the kids who are there to like explain to their parents what that's about or something like that.
You could run the little video, though people probably, it's hard to see things like that. Maybe it's a mix. Maybe it's like, how do you be sustainable? And you have different transportation things and food things and
Where your energy comes from. And
even
Does-
recycling things and energy. Like, it could be a whole mix of things.
Does anyone know anyone who does worm composting? Like countertop worm?
That would be fun. That would be a big hit.
I know somebody does it in Arlington. I don't know anyone closer.
we could put out a call in the
Yeah, because
social-
I'm trying to think of that like hands-on, you can. I mean, he does his in plastic bins, and you can take off the newspaper and you'll see the worms eating his orange rinds. They're
that would
bright.
be kind of cool.
They're bright red worms, I think is what his are. But just another way to think about, that Black Earth is great, but they don't actually see the composting, right? They just know it leaves, but there is an option where you can watch the composting happen in front of you.
Man, it's too bad Kathy can't bring her display bees. They would love that too.
I mean, who says she can't?
Maybe, I mean, just something to think about.
Yeah.
That would make us popular. Bugs always make you popular.
No, I was so happy the day in school that the Honduran hissing cockroaches came. Nope, not interested.
You still remember it?
It was not as good as the day I missed when the snake came. That was my favorite day to ever miss school. Was when some guy with snakes.
Well, we could do more about pollinators, though. I mean, that's a good point
Yeah.
too. Like, we could have some more information about, like,
Oh,
how to make a pollinator garden at home, stuff like that.
We could give out little seed packets.
I was just gonna say someone's just giving them away on Facebook.
You can usually get milk seed packets this time of year, can't you? Like down there's
No, Grow Native in Massachusetts is getting kicked out of their office, and so they, Mystic Charles Pollinator Pathways groups at the Medford Public Library on Saturday is giving away seed packages. They're called seed bees. So I mean, actually, no, I can't go this Saturday. I gotta go.
I could go this Saturday. Send me the information. Or just one or like multiple ones?
Oh no, it's like a bag full.
Oh, I could go this weekend. And that kind of segues with don't we have a seed bank now at the library?
Did they make one?
I thought so. I feel like I saw that advertised some point in last year.
If we do, then we should support them in spreading that news, because I've seen a number of libraries talk about it. I didn't know that we did.
I wonder whether I was gonna say somewhere with that's right around when the community garden is open, you know, we have Girl Scout groups and stuff. We set some aside for groups, for youth groups.
What, the community garden
Mhm.
plots?
Like, I think the Girl Scouts always get one. I think Boys and Girls Club gets one.
Yeah.
All right, we have a lot of good ideas. We better noodle on them.
Yep. Let's other events coming up. Some of the other ideas for events that we had. Stop sharing again. That Lily and I had brainstormed back in the prior incarnation of this committee was something about the greenhouse gas inventory. Like, we did that exercise and haven't really promoted it or talked about it. So like that could be an interesting indoors at the library, maybe more of like a roundtable than a presentation, but like, you know, I think we haven't really had much discussion about it. We've got the pollinators, that's Kathy. Something for Earth Day. We should talk about whether we want to do like some particular Earth Day thing, or if that's the bees. Touring Black Earth Compost, which I think is a spring thing.
Just thinking
or-
that it's physically more comfortable to go there.
Yeah, I would think so. I think if it's covered in snow, you're not gonna really see much.
No, not Black Earth, but the other big one, Bootstrap, posted a photo recently, and it was interesting. There's 3 mounds based on age, and so you can see one have steam coming out of it. Was so cooking.
Huh, interesting. Well, I mean, we can reach out to them. Maybe it's sooner, you know, or maybe that's around Earth Day.
Maybe, yeah. I just was thinking not too warm because then some people think that you know, from a smell and
It'll smell worse.
but,
Yeah.
you know, or to prove that it doesn't and there's no bugs
Yeah.
and stuff. I don't know. Do they speak to any sort of restrictions on when they do these things?
Oh, I don't know. I met them last spring at the recycling convention, the Mass Recycle convention, and asked them about like, hey, I would love to bring a tour group. And they
Mhm.
said, wait till our new facility comes online because it's going to be that much cooler. And
Oh, okay.
I think it just recently did, or is about to. So I was partly waiting for that. But I can reach out to them and see what.
No, if
uh,
they, I mean, it's yeah, if it's too soon for them to want people.
Oh, I
Where's
don't know. I mean, that was a year ago. It may very well
Oh.
be perfectly timed now.
I don't know where I don't know anymore where their stuff goes.
Oh, I think it's
It was Manchester, wasn't it?
Manchester by the Sea. I
Yeah, I
think
think
so.
it was Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah.
At least it used to.
And then another one that we had talked about was a Fix It Cafe. So Melrose just did one.
And I
week
saw
or
it
two
just like the
ago.
other day on Facebook. Sounds like I have this little tiny thing. Anyone know how to fix it? I'm like, oh well, the Fix It Cafe would have been the perfect place.
Yeah. So Elena, she came to the recycle day from the Lend and Mend that was at the Loop in Melrose. So the Lend and Mend is her little business, and it's a lending library, or like a lending library of tools and things, and Fix It capabilities. And she has like different service levels to like help you set up and run a proper Fix It cafe. So she just did one in Melrose last weekend. I brought a toy train set that I had, little electric train that I got for free that wasn't working. We spent a lot of time diagnosing it. It was unfixable, but then I could actually get rid of it without guilt. But so she set up, it was in Melrose at like the VFW hall or one of those kind of places, and there were like 10 tables of Fix It volunteers repairing all sorts of things. It was, and you know, mending garments and all electronics and all kinds of stuff. It was very, very cool. So it sounded like she has like various levels of can help with this for a small fee. So we could engage her in that, or we could just pick her brain and reach out to some volunteers and set it up ourselves. But it sounds like something that there could be some interest in doing.
Julie, has there ever, so in Lexington growing up, and I actually just looked at, according to the website, still available, the senior center actually hosted the Fix It room.
Oh, really?
Yes. And so it was, as a kid, I want to say it was like once a week they had open hours and you can come and drop off your stuff. But it was an activity for seniors, to do, and those who had the skills and so forth.
Interesting.
And now it's open, but you have to make an appointment. You can't just walk up.
That's so interesting. We should talk to Karen Burke, who runs the senior center. She's open to lots of ideas like this.
So, because it kind of combines so having an event is one thing for someone to help with the diagnosis, but in terms of like, my biggest thing is like finding the folks that have the skills, right? So like
Mhm.
a lot of,
Right, and
well,
that's what she
think
can
something
do
that
is,
needs to fix, but like having someone else to be able to, do it is the other part, which may be the harder of the two things.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
hosting the collection is one, but
Oh, yeah. I mean, she had people there actually fixing, not just diagnosing.
oh, okay.
She
So
had a whole bunch of volunteers that, with all sorts of tools, fixing all manner of.
I think the idea of asking seniors is a great idea.
yeah, because the cafe was the expectation they had to be able to fix it that day, or could you pick stuff up later? Yeah, so it's like a one day.
That one was a one-time event. So yeah, the expectation was you fix it on the spot. But the idea of something where you can sit longer and.
Well, right, it's limiting when it's only a few hours worth of, time. So, and it could change on what tools were available, but
Mhm.
I'll drop a note to Karen and copy you guys.
I mean, if they're open to it, then maybe the right way to kick it off is to do the cafe format as a way to get people aware, as a,
I mean, maybe it's
Promotional
more
stuff.
like, maybe the start is, us going there and talking with people and, seeing what skills are there, because then we could advertise for a certain skill set,
that's true.
right? I mean, if it was an electronics fix-it day or a sewing fix-it day.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think as a kid, we sent toasters more than once, Yeah.
Right. I had another deliverable. What was it? I gotta put these on my list.
The town report.
Yes, the town report. Okay, got it.
The business EV roundtable, was that encouraging businesses to own EVs or to?
Yeah, the idea there was like, so we enjoyed the EV showcase, but there was mostly geared towards personal vehicles. Yes, municipal gas and light was there, and the parking enforcement car, and lawn care, Velvet Green. But it was more geared towards personal use and not towards like thinking about what it would take to electrify your fleet. So the thought there was like, could we do something that was a little more targeted to the business community? And I think we might end up sort of adopting this one into the green business subcommittee instead. But think about that as how do we support any of the businesses in town that might be thinking about going with EVs? Like, how do we help them think through that transition?
Yeah, because like 128 plumbing number of vehicles seems to have exploded, in the last, have they considered any of their fleet? Because that it would be a good demonstration of a commercial fleet that's really just seems, I don't know, maybe because I live near their headquarters, but it seems like more and more.
Yeah, I see a ton of them.
Yeah.
Well, and for things that are basically just a transit van, like that's what the Velvet Greens van is. So I thought like, could we bring them along to showcase like them and just, someone from Municipal Gas and Light to just have more of a sort of a forum conversation, not a presentation, and not even necessarily with the vehicles well,
Right.
maybe with the vehicles present, but like more of a conversation about like, well, how did we figure out if this was the right kind of vehicle and what are the downsides? What prep did we need to do?
Challenges. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a long list at this point of things that we would like to do. But that one felt like it could be a follow on from the EV showcase. This is getting to be a mighty long meeting, so I want to sort of move us along. We had talked at a prior meeting about STEM curriculum review, and I'm sort of at a loss for where to go with that one. And I don't know if that's frankly sort of the purview of this subcommittee. You know, the sort
Yeah,
of
I'm not sure I'm
question.
qualified to step into that. I mean, I think that's more of this promoting the school committee to
Mhm.
to ask questions about it, and then, but you know, curriculum is heavily focused on what the state standards are, and I mean, I'd have to tap into my sister's, you know, being a teacher and stuff like that, but I wouldn't know how to review anything of theirs. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I guess what I wonder is, are we missing out on some opportunity to say to the folks updating the curriculum that we sure hope climate is in there? Like, how do we get the message to them that, you know, climate
Well,
change better be sort of ought to be sort of appropriately handled in the curriculum?
I want to say it's a state standard now. Did I hear that?
Article on this today in the My Climate Journey.
Okay, so as of November, somebody claims that Massachusetts actually lacks an educational standard on climate change. But if that's the case, we're really advocating to the state level, not necessarily a local level.
Hmm.
So according to this, Massachusetts public schools are required to learn about topics such as water and ecosystem, but that isn't necessarily requiring them to connect that to a climate crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a nonprofit called EcoRise that actually does offer curriculum to schools that want to be eco-conscious. They're nonprofit based out of, I know him through my company's work in DC, although oddly enough, I think he's actually from Texas. So if if there was a way to make them aware of it, I'd be happy to make that kind of introduction, but beyond that, it's kind of limited on. And I guess this article is saying there's also an environmental group called Change is Simple, also a nonprofit that teaches topics. So I guess
they're actually out of Beverly. I know them pretty well. They might have
know,
some good ideas for the STEM stuff, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it kind of needs to go through the school committee. It's kind of weird for us to be going to the school, without going through the liaison of,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Well, or do we?
EcoRise does really cool stuff, and I'm sure this, one that out of Beverly does also. There's folks that are talented in translating this stuff.
I mean, I guess right, the school committee ought to be involved in the actual curriculum review. I guess, is there a way to make it clear to the school committee then perhaps that we in the sustainability committee think it's important that the curriculum address sustainability topics? I guess I feel like we're missing some opportunity to state that this ought to be a thing, but I don't know sort of where we get to do that or to whom.
Well, I guess we have a liaison with it, so I think can we have a conversation with her? Maybe it's if it's not a full meeting, can we just invite her to this smaller group and see if that's a more comfortable space to have that conversation? Just to get, I'm just spitballing.
Yeah. Well, and Joanne Marks, who's the STEM coordinator for the schools, was like, when I mentioned this to her, she was happy to come to an ESC meeting.
Oh, okay.
I just wasn't sure if that's, to all your points, like whether that's appropriate for us to ask her to come to talk about this to us rather than the school committee, or like when in the process is the right time. Like they're in this year-long review process, so.
Well, I mean, and there's other ways too, like the high school always has a shadow day, right? Like, could we help them with the shadow day and finding climate?
What's a shadow day?
Or they go into I always take one to Greentown. They go with a Wakefield adult to their job to see how they work.
Oh,
That's cool.
wow.
So
Okay.
like there might be ways there where like we could help place, 4 or 5 juniors with climate. They could follow sustainable architects or
Yeah,
they come with me to Greentown. I'd make them go into the labs with other people, but yeah.
Well, Melissa works for, wind company.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe there are ways like that are maybe not so much curriculum, but what they need.
Exposure.
I mean, whenever like we do the reading at the Woodville, I always bring a climate book, right? There's little ways to kind of ease in. I mean, maybe that's the kind of stuff we could ask the STEM coordinator, right? Like,
when you
yes,
said
we
you
would
go
love to
into
have a curriculum, but are there other ways that we can kind of help get your students interested in this kind of stuff?
So when you say when you go into school, is that Read Across America Day? Or is
Yeah,
it a different
I think
one?
so. Sometimes they invite parents or like electeds or.
Yeah, my sister used to bring me. There's a couple architecture books that I like to. They also like the novelty of seeing a teacher sister who looks like her. We're identical twins.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
And it's actually really fun to see how many kids do not notice that I'm not her. Like they don't even question that I'm taking over the class. And then she walks in and they're just like, I'm confused. What's happening?
That's funny.
Oh, little kids.
Okay, well, that's all some good thoughts. Well, I guess for completeness sake, I'll forward you both the email thread with Joanne Marks, so that you can see the context that I probably didn't articulate very well tonight, and see if we want to have any other engagement. But yeah, I think there could be any number of different ways that we, just sprinkle sustainability things in here and there.
Actually, you guys should have by now received the high school notice. I wonder.
Is that the tour with the construction?
No. I asked for the sustainability features. So I have a description.
Was that the list that Melissa forwarded out?
That's what I was saying. You should have gotten it by now from her.
Yeah.
I actually haven't read it very closely. I've read the scorecard, but there is a chance that SMA, that architects would be doing education in the schools when the building is done, but that's years in the future.
Right, sure.
Yes, green education programs. Oh, it's about, they're doing some signage to explain how the building highlights features, and they plan to do a tour book and case study publication.
Oh, cool. That's great. I'm gonna keep us moving along. We're almost there. Other education channels and media, I think we just wanted to start to engage the item more. So if folks have ideas or things that come up that you think, oh, we should write a thing for the item or other outlets, I think we're game to do that.
Do you think Myra, she always, once we gave her a topic, was great about writing. I'm not a newspaper writer, so I read, I don't write. If we need an author, do you think we could give her topics and she could support us that way?
Certainly worth a try, yeah.
Thinking of tapping her as a volunteer.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see why not. I think Lily might also be game to do that occasionally.
Nice. Okay, great.
She does marketing, copy related things for work, doesn't she?
I think so.
So she might be willing to write to the paper sometimes. She had started to go down that route a little bit for us till she abandoned the subcommittee. So.
She's still on the regular committee though, right?
Yeah. So we can certainly pull her into stuff.
We're gonna need, well, I don't, it's not our job, but we're gonna need letters of support from the MBTA.
Yes.
Yeah. Makes sense. Next meeting, February 28th. Does this time work generally? And is that day good for y'all?
28. Yep. Looks fine for me.
So when's, oh, sorry, jump to.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say when's the 28th was a Thursday, but that's because March is. Yes, that works for me.
Great. Any other matters not anticipated?
How have you been tracking future social media posts and stuff? Like, do you yeah, what's your system been? Because your variety has been awesome and consistent, so.
You want to see it?
Yeah, I'm curious.
So.
Well, and as I looked at the calendar, I was reminded that, March is Women's History Month. I wonder if we could feature some women in environmental.
Absolutely.
And Black History Month in February.
And yeah, so tomorrow, is there something, thinking a little bit about who are the people behind some of this stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you've got stuff, send it my way. So generally, I just sort of make a set of posts and just sort of track them as people send me something, or, I see an article, I put it in this table and I mark it once I've posted it and try to just sort of distribute it through the month and have a variety of topics. I currently, I added during our meeting that I want to do something about the seed library. But that, that gets us through Feb 4. So if you have fresh topics, please send them my way. But I basically have sort of some bullet points of things we can always share about, Wi-Fi thermostats, and where to send your plastic bags and stuff. And, here's our email list. But generally, just as people either send things or I see articles or events are happening or whatever, I add them to this list and post them. And so I have a full archive since September of 22. You can see all of the things we've posted. And occasionally I'll say oh, I remember one time we posted some great thing about, whatever, and I'll just go reuse something from a past month. But I have, the full archive from forever that I've been doing.
Yeah, if something's more than a couple years old, it might as well never have been posted. So resending it with a different image is like a whole new post.
Yeah, right. And half of the things are maybe not even are timely in some way because it's about some webinar, or Linfield had their tree event on Monday that I didn't make it to. So some things are timely and a lot of stuff is not. So
no, you do an awesome job.
You do amazing.
And occasionally we get some commentary back.
Cool.
Yeah. So feel free. I think per the rules, I'm not supposed to make this a shareable thing that everyone else can edit also.
Right. But we can just send it to you.
So you
Thank
can
you.
send things
Thank
to
you
me.
for doing the work of keeping it together.
You know, and to be honest, like it's just enough of a system that it works for me to stay organized, and posting whatever thing takes a whole 2 minutes out of my day every other day. So like it is not at all a burden. And it doesn't feel like a burden that I need to spread around for my own, workload purposes. So I'm happy to do this, but it is sure helpful when other people in the community send things my way.
Okay.
So keep that coming. Judith from the Comm sends stuff periodically also to the ESC list, and then Melissa forwards it to me. Like, here's a thing to share. So get probably like one a month from her.
Good.
Yeah. So do feel free to send things, and we'll keep posting.
I'm trying to think. I just learned that LEAD is getting a slight revision, but that's not a town interest level of nerdy.
Well, you can put in July, right, when we kick off the opt-in.
Yeah. But yeah, anything we should celebrate or promote, as we have, outcomes from stuff. It's nice to be able to share. I sent a note over to Gas and Light for, some stats, like how many houses added solar in 2023 and how much, like how much solar did we do as a town in 23? What stats do you have? What end of the year stats did you generate?
That's
other
awesome. Yeah,
purposes?
because it's shows
Similar
progress.
to like Black Earth's compost did there, like we saved X tons of waste. If someone else is already making some stats,
They should have the stats. They should also have really easy stats on hours of electric cars charged at public chargers.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think we got some stats around the time of the showcase.
Yeah.
But I bet they could do like a year-end wrap.
And and their community solar thing, there were 85 people there. Like
I
there was
heard. Yeah, we'll post the video when the video's
crazy
ready.
busy.
I was glad that I didn't go, so we didn't take 2 seats. Kenny was there.
Yeah, I saw your husband there. I think he was right up front.
He got stuck in the front, and then I think he left after like 20-30 minutes because it was kind of then repetitive questions. He's like,
Yeah,
he signed us up, so first come first serve. So maybe we're on the roof.
That's
That's
good.
awesome.
No, it was really, really good to see the level of interest there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident they're going to get fully subscribed and hopefully have some momentum to do it another one.
As I say, if they oversubscribe, we'll have to find another roof.
Yeah.
Got to be some more roofs around.
So that was
or
great.
empty other spaces.
Well, parking lots and everything. So
Yeah. I mean, even the Galvin, you could put probably solar on there and make that a community one too.
On the roof or on the car park?
Or in the parking lot.
Both.
I don't know, the parking lot might, it's hard to say they use that for other things.
So.
Oh yeah, like the carnival.
That
would make it difficult.
You'd have to do it differently, but yeah. The Ferris wheel could be in the way.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Olin College, where I did undergrad, they're putting in a solar car park roof thing. Like they just have one big parking lot, and they're doing the solar canopy over the parking lot, and it's almost done. And every time I've been there over the last couple of months, I'm like, who's getting closer? It's huge. It's really
Nice.
cool. Very exciting.
Yeah, I don't think they would ever do it because it's so expensive, but there are the flowered solar. I don't know if you guys know what I mean by that. It rotates with the sun and it closes at night. So it opens into petals. You can see examples of it at Assembly Row in Somerville.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one.
So it's
but it's not a concentrator, right? It's a PV.
It's a PV. Oh yeah, no. So like between Galvin and the street, that's all you need room wise, so but it's a whole nother, it's very expensive because it's a moving thing, but it's another, it's a outside of the box way to add some solar.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
I'll motion to close it.
Yes, thank you.
Second.
All right, Robin.
Aye.
Julie.
Aye.
Yes. All right.
Good to see you guys.
Thank you.